ओम सर्वधर्म स्थापकस्त्वं सर्वधर्म स्वरूपकः आचार्याणां महाचार्यो Ramakrishna te namaha. We are studying Sri Ramakrishna the Great Master as the spiritual teacher, second part, and we are in the chapter 5th. And the name of the chapter is Sri Ramakrishna in the company of devotees, the Navayatra. In AD 1885. And we have seen the description, and Thakur has come to Balram Babu's house, and there Balram Babu's son's tutor, Yageshwar Bhattacharya, nicknamed Fakir. Thakur touched him and he went into dhyan, deep meditation. That has been mentioned. And Thakur used to like to listen from him these stotras. And Thakur himself taught him the Kali Stotra composed by Shankaracharya. Now, and then he came to, Yogen had not taken food and Thakur told Balaram Babu's people. So Thakur's attention on the devotees' mental as well as physical condition, and even their mental attitude. Thakur never forced Yogen. Yogen did not take food anywhere, not even water. But Balaram Babu's devotion, Yogen was impressed and used to take food there. So reaching Balaram Babu's house, Thakur told, give something to Yogen. This much we have seen. Now, para number 18. The chariot festival at Balaram Babu's house. There was a comment from somebody, indirectly came to me, yesterday or day before yesterday, I don't remember, that I am only reading, not explaining anything. But every minutest point I am explaining, isn't it? Anyway, so if somebody feels like that, what can we do? The chariot now began to be drawn forward to the accompaniment of Sankirtan, the singing of God's glory. The master himself took hold of the rope attached to the chariot and pulled it for some time. Afterwards, he danced beautifully to the music. Charmed with that dance and the exciting roar arising out of spiritual emotion born of Sankirtan, all lost themselves in the love of God. Dancing, singing, and pulling the chariot all went for a long time, round and round. Round and round, you understand? Actual Ratha Yatra is from Puri temple to that onto his house. But here in Balram's house, there is a veranda. You have seen that structure? You have seen Balram's house? No. So, no, there is in old Bengal as well as old Tamil Nadu I have seen. Open to the sky is some portion. Right from the ground floor up to, you can see the sky. And in the first floor, a veranda around that square. In Bengali it is called Chak Milan Veranda. Chowk Milan Veranda. So there they used to take the chariot, symbolically. Round and round means chariot will not go somewhere. Chariot will come to that veranda. There God will be worshipped once more. And then Sankirtan and that they will move the chariot round and round. Sufficient time. As if it is going somewhere. So that is round and round. For a long time, round and round. Along the veranda of the outer apartment on the first floor. Overlooking the courtyard below. So they have described this. With salutations, the kirtan was then brought to a close with the uttering of Jai. That is salutation. Victory. Separately, taking the names of Jagannath, Govinda, Radharani, Chaitanya, and the devotees of his inner circle and others. His means Chaitanya's inner circle. So, little strange, isn't it? The Puri chariot or Puri temple has Jagannath, Balram and Subhadra. A strange combination. But the devotees are singing Jai to Jagannath and Govinda. Govinda is again same Jagannath. And Radharani, which is not in that temple. And then because Chaitanya glorified it, Chaitanya was living in Puri. So Chaitanya and the devotees of his inner circle and others. That is Chaitanya group. So that was the tradition in Balram's house because Balram himself was from that Sampradaya. What we call it? Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. The holy image of Jagannath was then brought down from the chariot and installed for 7 days in a different place. There itself in the house, installed in a different place. A small room where it's different place, a small room on the second floor or the flight of steps. Second floor? No, these floors are sometimes confusing. Yes. Ditale Chiler Chader Gare. Chiler Chader Gare, you understand this Bengali expression? Chiler Chad? You see, on the staircase, a room like is there. No? On the terrace, no other room. Only a room like where the terrace, the steps end. Steps ending, there is a room. That is called Chiler Chad. Chil means that kite which flies. So it is the terrace of the kite. Like that is the name. Understood? A room, only room on the top floor above the staircase. A small room on the second floor over the flight of steps. It was as if Jagannath had made a chariot journey to a different place. That means actually chariot is not taken there. Chariot is on the first floor. But then lifted from the chariot, carried there and kept in that room. Because in the first floor there is no separate room. So all symbolical, out of devotion, all that feeling is maintained. It was as if Jagannath had made a chariot journey to a different place and he would have a return journey to his own place again after 7 days. So journey is through the veranda, kept in a different place. After 7 days, coming back. After Jagannath had been installed in the place mentioned before, an offering of food was made there. Prasada was given first to the master and then to others. Sanctified food is called prasad. The master and Yogen passed that night in the house of Balram Babu. Many of the other devotees went home. The women devotees' devotion to the master. Now people are looking at Thakur as God only. That is the Varna. At 8 or 9 on the morrow, a boat was engaged. The master would go back to Dakshineshwar. When the boat came, the master went to the inner apartment and paid his obeisance to Sri Jagannath. He received the salutations of the family of the devotees and was coming towards the outer apartment. When women devotees followed him to the end of the room in front of the kitchen, situated on the eastern side of the inner apartment. Clear distinction was there in those days. Inner apartment where only ladies could go. Thakur was taken there for giving refreshments. And when he is coming out, a woman being pulled by Thakur's love came forward unconsciously up to the end of the inner apartment. Women devotees followed him to the end of the room in front of the kitchen situated on the eastern side of the inner apartment, from where they went back with sad hearts. For which is the mind that would like to part with that wonderful living God? Taking a few steps forward from there and then going up 3 or 4 steps, one found a door beyond which was the veranda on the first floor, overlooking the courtyard below. Though all other women devotees returned from the end of that room, one of them forgot herself, as it were, and followed him to the said veranda, as if she was not at all conscious of the presence of unknown people there. So much became intoxicated, unaware of the surrounding. Only she knows to follow Thakur. The master walked along with indrawn mind, and a woman devotee who forgot herself followed him. After the master had taken leave of the woman devotees, he, in spiritual mood, walked along with such indrawn mind that he did not at all know that the ladies followed him for a certain distance and then returned. He took leave of them in the kitchen itself and in the dining hall, and then returned, and that one of them was even then following him that way. Those only who with their own eyes have seen the master walking in that manner will be able to understand it. It is difficult to explain it to others. You have to visualize that. As the result of practicing mental concentration for 12 years, nay, for the whole of his life, 12 years sadhana, but whole of his life was concentrated. The master's mind and intellect became so very one-pointed that they remained exactly where they were placed or exactly in whatever action they were employed. Same place or some action. They did not at all digress in any other direction. Again, his body and senses were so much under control that they expressed to the utmost the emotion present in the mind. That means if mind something, the body is not behaving in a different way. They could not play pranks with him. They means body and senses. Prank means suddenly going to some side. Now compare always. Some of the things we can follow, we can try. Consciousness will change, but mental and physical actions we can try. It is very difficult to explain this, for when we look at our own minds, we find that they are the battlegrounds of contending thoughts, mind itself. And that, led by habits, our bodies and senses run after the powerful impulses in spite of our best efforts to curb them. Mind, right. Body and senses, their own direction. Though we are trying to curb them. So very different are the constitutions of the master's mind and our mind. Everywhere, as my Guruji told, when reading the scriptures, feel the gap and then try to fill up the gap. So he's pointing out the gap at every point. A few more examples of the masters walking along with indrawn mind, its reason. So in order to explain this, what explanation? Similar instances elsewhere. When you find a group, we feel satisfied. Oh, this is nature. Many more events can be mentioned here as examples of this. The master started from his own room, example, at Dakshineshwar to pay his obeisance to Mother Kali. He came to the eastern veranda of his room, got down the steps to the courtyard of the temple, and went straight toward the Kali temple. The temple of Radha Govinda was on the way to that temple. While going to the Kali temple, he might, if he so choose, first enter the temple of Radha Govinda, pay his obeisance to the holy image, and then go to the temple of Mother Kali. We generally do like this. But he could never do that. He went direct to the temple of Kali and made his obeisance there. He would go to the temple of Radha Govinda only on his way back. No explanation. We thought in those days that the master did so because he loved Mother Kali more. One day the master himself said, so Thakur explains his action. Hello, can you tell me why it is so? When I intend to go to the temple of Mother Kali, I have to go there absolutely direct. When he started, he did not think of Radha Govinda. He thought of Mother Kali. So he has to go to Mother Kali. After that is over, then he will think of other things. I will tell you just opposite an example, without telling a name. One of our Swamis, he has passed away now. I was in Chennai Students' Home, and he was in the adjoining center, Vivekananda College. It is called Vivekananda Vidyapit, just like Hindustan, Pakistan. Actually, from this land, Swami was given to them. So, outside there may be a road, but for sadhus, there is a wall and a door. So he used to come to attend the class. Regularly irregular. Why? He would start at the right time. Then remember, I have not shaved. So he'll shave and come back. Come. Sometimes while shaving, he thinks, let me take bath and go. So, example, when he has intended for the class, then other thoughts are there. This is the direct contrast with what Thakur is. I have to go there absolutely direct. It becomes impossible for me to go there after taking a stroll this side or that side. That also we do. This side, that side, then we'll reach there. Or after going to the temple of Radha Govinda and making my obeisance there. Someone, as it were, drags me by my feet and takes me direct to the temple of Mother Kali and does not allow me to bend even a little this way or that. I can go wherever I like after I see Mother Kali. Can you tell me why it is so? We confessed our ignorance, but thought to ourselves, is it possible? He can first pay his obeisance to Radha Govinda Pillai and then go to the Kali temple. But it is so perhaps because his desire to see Mother Kali is more powerful comparatively. But we could not speak it out openly all at once. The master himself sometimes answered the question that, do you see, I have to do a thing just whenever I have a mind to do it. The slightest delay can't be overlooked. Who knew then that a one-pointed mind had to be in that state and behave that way? Who knew that the master's mind had long become absolutely one-pointed, leaving no loophole anywhere, and that all cross-currents of thoughts and sentiments had long been stopped, and there remained only one master current there? Again, he sometimes said, look here, when I am in the nirvikalpa state of consciousness, nothing remains, neither I nor you. Consciousness state nirvikalpa, I could not catch immediately. Original Bengali says nirvikalpa avastha. Avastha, mind. Nirvikalpa state of the mind. In that case, knowledge dawns. But knowledge and mind are different. State of the mind will change, but the knowledge will not change. So, here, nirvikalpa, state of the mind, not consciousness. When I am in the nirvikalpa state of mind, nothing remains, neither I nor you. That is all to do with play of the mind. That is nirvikalpa. Neither seeing nor hearing, neither speaking nor keeping mum. Because there the I will function, I will not speak. That is not there at all. Even when I come down 2 or 3 steps from there, mental states, I have so much of divine intoxication that I cannot turn my attention to a multitude of persons or things. One will not suddenly become many. If I sit down to take my meal at that time, he has come down and sitting for meals. And I am given a meal of 50 dishes, my hand would not go toward them all. It will take food to the mouth from one spot only of one plate. So either people have to push it there or all things kept combined there. This is concentration of the mind. Such states come when rice, pulses, vegetables, rice porridge, all must be mixed together and then taken. We were astounded to hear of the state 2 or 3 steps below that absolute sameness. He continued, another state comes on me when I cannot touch anyone. If any one of these, pointing to the devotees, touch me, I have to cry out in pain. Alien touch. Who amongst us could then understand the mystery of it? That such an overwhelming amount of pure Sattva Guna was then there in the master's mind that he could not bear the touch of the slightest impurity. He also added, such a state again sometimes comes on me during ecstasy that I can then touch him, Babu Ram only. Shuddha Sattva. If he catches hold of me, then I don't feel pain. If he feeds me, I can eat. What is this catching hold? Explained in the footnote. The Thakur may fall down. As the master had no body consciousness during ecstasy, his limbs, the hands, head, neck, etc., became bent, and sometimes the whole body inclined on one side and was about to fall. The devotees who happened then to be beside him, there is a parody, huh? The master invited the woman devotee to come to. Oh, we are continuing the footnote, huh? Okay. The devotee who happened them to be beside him caught hold of those limbs and slowly set them in their proper position. Everything has become loose. And continued to hold him, lest he should fall down. They uttered into his ears, other side, the names of those deities whose contemplation had produced that state of the master. For example, Kali, Kali, Rama, Rama, Om, Om, or Om Tat Sat, and so on. This process being continued for some time, he would slowly regain normal consciousness. If he felt great pain, if any other name, except that by the contemplation of which he was inspired and absorbed, was uttered into his ears. So everything one-pointed. Next paragraph. The master invited the woman devotee to come to Dakshineshwar. So in between, that Thakur's state of concentrated mind was explained by various examples. And the reason of his oneness consciousness. Now we are going back to that incident where other ladies went back from the end of the inner apartment and one lady unconsciously followed him. And Thakur did not notice at all. Then he saw. Walking along with mind absorbed, the master came to the veranda of the outer apartment where the chariot was drawn and happened suddenly to look behind to see that woman devotee following him that way. Suddenly means he was aware inside. When the mind came down, he literally was aware. So he looked back. As soon as he saw her, he stood and saluted her again and again, Thakur's method, saying, blissful mother, blissful mother. For him, all women are nothing but manifestation of mother. And mother is Anandamai, Anandamai. The devotee also placed her head on the master's feet and saluted him in return. And Thakur saluted her. She saluted him in return. When she did so, the master looked at her face and said, why not come, O mother? Why not come with me? Now, he could not utter this straight. Huh? In Bengali, remember, Cho na goma, cho na. Understood? Chalo, chal. Chal is not saying only cho. Cho na goma. Go is addressed to ladies. Lady, gent, generally. Ma. Addressing her as ma. So, half falteringly. Cho na goma, cho na. In English, it could not be written, but they will try to explain it. Why not come, O mother? Why not come with me? It could be made still said. Come, O mother, come. He uttered the words in such a way, and the devotee also felt such an attraction that without considering whether it was right or wrong, she who was then about 30 years old and had never before gone from one place to another except in a palanquin. And what transformation? Followed the master to Dakshineshwar. Now, she is attracted, intoxicated, but did not forget the normal courtesy, peculiar things. Unconsciously she has come. Now she has become conscious of herself. And Thakur has invited, so she will go. But before that, before she started, she delayed just long enough to run to the inner apartment and say to Balram Babu's wife, I am going with the master to Dakshineshwar. Well, phenomena, if you look, that intoxication is now over. Now she is pulled by Thakur's words. And she remembers that one should not leave any house without informing the lady of the house. So she goes back to inner apartment and tells Balram Babu's wife and then comes again. Now some funny thing happened. Great description this. Unless they take Thakur to be God, this cannot be explained at all. Hearing that the aforesaid devotee was thus going to Dakshineshwar, another woman devotee also gave up all work and started with her. Secondary. Somebody is going with Thakur, I will also go. Asking the woman devotee to follow him, the master asked her and went away. Master in that spiritual mood went straight to the boat with Sri Yogen, the junior Naren and other boy devotees. Junior Naren? Naren means Narendra Datta Swami Vivekananda. There was another boy named Naren, younger to Naren. So he was called Chota Naren, junior Naren. The junior Naren and other boy devotees and sat down there in the boat. The two women devotees also ran to the boat and sat down on the plank flooring outside the covering of the boat. You know, boat is half covered, half open. So Thakur went inside, they sat outside. The boat started. While going, the woman devotee said to the master, I feel a desire to call on him much and to apply my whole mind to him. But the mind by no means obeys the reins. What shall I do? You understand now? With whole incident, you understand that the woman's mind climbed very high. And at that point, self-effort would not help. What will help? Total surrender. That Thakur explains. Understand? You see, there are two levels. I have been always telling. I am the doer, I am the experiencer. So at that point, I am the doer will not help at all. Then how will go? We say Purushkar, self-effort. But there the whole effort is to surrender that self-effort. There is a poem by Rabindranath Thakur. Lord, give me the strength. Strength to face odds, faith and strength for righteousness, etc., etc. In the end, he says, give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. Give me the strength to surrender my strength to thy will with love. So that is the point. On the boat, the master replied to the one devotee's question, be like a cast off leaf before the wind. You have taken food. Now that leaf is cast off. And a storm is coming. And the leaf is in that storm. It will be blown where the storm wants it, not where the leaf making any attempt. So God's will take you further. The master affectionately. Why not surrender yourself to him? One should live in the world like a leaf before the wind. A leaf thrown out after food has been eaten out of it. Cast off to be blown by the wind, whithersoever it likes, wind likes. Do you know how it is? The cast off leaf lies at a neglected corner. It flies as the wind carries it. It is just like that. One should depend on him and live one's life. The mind should move as the wind of divine consciousness moves it. That's all. At present, where the mind goes? Where the wind of desire takes it. So by self-effort, not that we are controlled. Now I come to a point where we can withdraw that I and let the divine wind carry it. So these are not advice for everybody. These are at a particular stage of mind. While this talk was going on, the boat reached the temple ghat. As soon as the master got down from the boat, so described in 2-3 sentences, but talk might have a little more. From Bhagavata to Dakshineshwar. While this talk was going on, the boat reached the temple ghat. As soon as the master got down from the boat, he went to the house of Kali. House of Kali means that within that big area, Kali temple. Thakur used to call it Kali God, House of Kali. And Radhakrishna, Vishnu God. The women devotees went to the Holy Mother at the Navat, that music room to the north, on the northern side of the temple compound. Their mother lived. So music was being played by the south music room, and this north music room was Holy Mother's. They saluted her and then started for the temple to pay their obeisance to Kali. So first went, met the mother, and then going to Kali. Thakur got down and went to Kali first. Kali the mother. In the meantime, the master came with his body devotees to the temple of Kali and offered salutations to her. He then came, sat down in the music hall in ecstasy and began to sing in his sweet voice. Music hall? No, not Navat. Nath Mandir. He does not go to Navat now. From Garbha Mandir, he came out and sat in the Nath Mandir. So, it is called Nath Mandir in Bengal. That means music, dance, dramas were played there. So, Nath Mandir. We will otherwise translate as the hall adjoining the inner shrine. So, that is called the music hall. Music hall, not music room. Music hall in ecstasy and began to sing in his sweet voice. O Mother, O Enchantress of Shiva, thou hast delivered the world. Thou entertainest thyself by playing on the veena at the great lotus in the basic center near the sacral plexus. That is in the Shakti worship or Tantra sadhana. These are symbolic things. That at this center, this raga is playing, at this center, that raga is playing. So, Muladhara. Great lotus in the basic center near the sacral plexus. Muladhara. O thou great mantra, who moves in the 3 scales. 3 scales? Huh? Music in music. Any idea of music? Sare Gama Padani is 1 scale. Below the Sa, you can go down. Sani Dappa Magare Sa. Above that Sa, again Sare Gama Padani. These are the 3 saptakas. So a man or woman with a full voice rarely can travel all the 3. Hardly from Ma here, Ma there, up to this. Very rarely Po, The they can take. But Goddess herself can take. So 3 scales means 3. In English it is called octaves. Because end is 8th. But that is the beginning of the next. So in Indian languages it is called Saptaka. That's a, O thou great mantra. How this comes? O thou great mantra. Bhuvana bhulaili ma bhuvana mohini. Muladhare mohotpale. Veena vadya vinodini. Sharire shariri yantre. Sushumnadi trayatantre. Gunabhede mahamantre. Tina grama sancharini. Okay. Now, mother has not become that mantra. With the help of the mantra, she is singing. I think it might be a misprint also. O mother, then O thou great mother, who movest in the 3 scales in the form of the 3 gunas, striking the 3 chords, sushumna, etc., of the musical instrument, the body. What is the musical instrument? Anvaya, Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna, 3 nerve currents. So they are like the 3 wires of the 3 saptakas of the music. O mother, 3 scales in the form of 3 gunas, and these 3 is the striking wires. O mother, thou art of the form of the mode Bhairava in the basic center. Sri Raga in the 6 petal lotus at the Swadhisthana center. Swadhisthana is parallel to the Navi. No, sorry. The basic is where the, no, what we call that? Backbone. Backbone ends. Then just above that will be this Swadhisthana. And navel will be Manipur. In the basic center, Bhairava is the name of a raga. Sri Raga in the 6 petal lotus at the Swadhisthana center. Mallara in the Manipur. Vasanta in the Anahata, illumining the heart. Heart center is called Anahata, there Vasanta Raga. Hindola in the Vishuddha. Vishuddha is at the neck. Hindol Raga. And Karnataka in the Adna. Karnataka is the name of a raga. That is in the below, in the eyebrows. O thou, who art manifest as the 3 7 notes under the stress of pitch, tempo, rhythm, and diatonic note, different items of the music. And the poet is Nanda Kumar. Sri Nanda Kumar says, the supreme truth cannot be ascertained. For the empirical reality, the triple gunas have veiled the vision of the jiva, blinded alternately by pains and pleasure. So that is a song, symbolic, describing the mother. The master reached Dakshineshwar and was in Bhav Samadhi. The devotees got evidence that his divine body should not be touched by one with a sore in one's body. You know this? When we are doing puja in the temple, if we have any wound in our body, we should not do puja. Dev Murti should not be touched if there is any wound in the body. And Thakur is now God. Now, same boy who Baburam touched always, but some other boy, almost pure, he used to touch Thakur. But in that Bhava Samadhi, and that boy had got some wound. So he was not conscious of it. He touched Thakur and Thakur felt pain. So that Thakur is God, that is being proved everywhere. The master sat in the northern part of the music hall in front of the mother and was thus singing the song. The devotees, some sitting, some standing, were charmed to listen to the song. In the course of singing, the master went into ecstasy and stood up suddenly. The singing stopped. An extraordinary smile on his lips filled the place with bliss. Filled the place with bliss. The devotees were looking motionless on the holy person of the master. When he saw that the master's body inclined a little, Junior Narendra was going to hold it straight, lest he should fall down. But no sooner had it touched him than the master screamed out in terrible pain. Finding that his touch was not then liked by the master, he stood aloof. When Ramlal, the master's nephew, heard his scream from within the temple, came out quickly and caught hold of the master's person. The master remained in that state for some time, and after listening to the names of God, came back to normal consciousness. But he was not able to stand in a natural way, as if he was dead drunk. His legs were trembling very much. So he is not of this world. And again that is happening. So more times like God, sometimes like man. In that condition, he crawled down the steps on the northern side of the music hall to the courtyard of the temple and began to speak like a child. I shall not fall down, mother. What do you say? Seeing the master, then one actually thought that he was a child of 3 or 4 years. Total change of consciousness. Total change of body. Gazing at the master as he spoke those words and keeping his eyes fixed on hers, Thakur's eyes on mother. He was confidently getting down the steps. Shall we see elsewhere such an attitude of wonderful reliance on God even in small matters? So he is coming out by himself, but looking at mother. Shall I go down? Shall I go down? The vision of the coiled power and his talk in ecstasy. Now suddenly he sees that mother in the form of Kundalini. He crossed the courtyard, came to his room, went to the western veranda and sat down there. He was still in ecstasy. That mood would not leave him. Now it diminished a little, now increased. When it increased, he lost normal consciousness. Remaining in that condition for some time, he began to say in that state of bhava to the devotees who were with him, have you seen this snake? It gives me a lot of trouble. Again, as if forgetting the devotees immediately, he addressed the snake like coiled power. But it is needless to say that the master saw her just then in ecstasy and said, go now, I will smoke and wash my mouth. My teeth have not been cleaned. So some small desires he used to keep in his mind to bring that mind back. Now speaking thus with the devotees and now with the figure seen in ecstasy, the master came back to the normal consciousness of ordinary people. These small desires helped him to come down. Understood? Innocent looking desires will have a drastic effect on us. It could bring the master's mind from nirvikalpa to the normal. For us, it will take down like anything. So no desires are innocent desires. Desires are desires. The master was anxious to think what the devotees who came would have for their meal. Now with him, boy devotees have come, ladies have come. He sent women devotees for shopping. When the master remained in a normal state of consciousness, he used to be anxious for the devotees. He sent someone to the Holy Mother to know whether there were any vegetables, etc. in the house. She sent word in reply that there was nothing. And the master became again concerned, considering who would go to the market then. How could the men and women devotees who had come from Calcutta be fed if some vegetable, etc., were not brought from the market? After some reflection, he asked the two women devotees, "Can you go and make purchases in the market?" They had not gone out of planning by planning. They said yes. So much influenced God's command. They said yes and went to the market and purchased and brought some greens, potatoes, and two large brinjals. Greens means a leafy vegetable. The Holy Mother cooked all these. From the temple also there came as usual a large plate full of prasada. When the master had finished taking his food, the devotees took prasada. Afterwards, the reason why the master had felt so much pain when Junior Naren held him during the ecstasy was ascertained. It was found on inquiry that on his left temple he had a small tumor which was gradually becoming bigger. Doctors applied medicine to produce a sore there, lest it should prove painful. They pierce it and then the pus comes out. It is true, we had heard before that one should not touch the form of a deity if one has a sore in one's body. But whoever thought that the saying would thus prove true before our very eyes? He undoubtedly suffered pain, but it was beyond our power to understand the divine power within the master, which impelled him suddenly to behave so, even when he was absorbed in the spiritual mood and bereft of normal consciousness. It was known to us how high an opinion the master expressed about Junior Naren's purity of character. In his normal state of consciousness, the master touched Naren as he did all others, in spite of that sore in his body. Allowed him to touch his feet and sat and stood with him. So how could Naren know that at the time of ecstasy, the master would not be able to bear his touch because he had a sore in his body? He therefore did not touch the master during ecstasy till the said sore was healed. No one felt how the whole of the day slipped away in the company of the master in the course of various religious conversations. Afterwards, at the approach of dusk, the men devotees started home. The two women devotees also took leave of the master and the Holy Mother and walked back to Calcutta. Walked back. Coming that come with boat, with master's boat. That is the. Now we'll meet with some other incident in which Thakur will meet Shashadhar. So this side Yatharata is over. Then Shashadhar. Then on return Yatra again. Om Sarvadharma Stapakasvam Sarvadharma Sarupakaha Acharyanam Acharyo Ramakrishna Te Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanavastu.